Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 18 of Reading Layamon's Brut. I'll just begin this episode with a brief apology, just in case you can hear a particularly persistent bird outside cheeping incessantly. It seems to like doing that when I have time to record. So, unfortunately, there's not much I can do about it, but hopefully it's not too bad in the recording or too distracting. So, let's jump into the video. Last time we left off just as Locrin had come head-to-head with Corineus. Locrin had met and fallen in love with a Germanic princess named Astrild, whom he had rescued from the Huns who had invaded the northern part of Britain. There was only one problem with that, and that was that Locrin was already engaged to the daughter of Corineus, who was named Gwendolen. And so Corineus was pretty displeased with the way all this panned out, and so he went and confronted Locrin and went all gimly with his axe and smashed the flagstone that Locrin was standing on. And so we pick up just as the councillors and members of the court are getting ready to intervene. So, let's pick up at line 1159. Alle her higgento on elcher halfe, and to deleden her matwa, terne was on hirde. There was money hach word, and tha alre selest erden to sumne, hulden muchel hustinge, the heest of dan hirde. That her nulden I tholian for all theadene gold, that theirs lather were, betokse Corinio and Locrin. So they, referring to the councillors, or the courtiers, all they hastened to there on each side and divided them apart, them being Locrin and Corineus. Pain or trouble was in the court. There was many a high or a proud word, and the best of all went together. So this is referring to the nobles of the court. They held a great husting or a great council, the highest or the noblest leaders of the court. And the council was to the effect that they would not suffer on account of not even for the sake of this foreign, other peopleish gold would they suffer, that this hatred were between Corineus and Locrin. Ach where willeth raden, and where willeth runan, that where niemen wendoline, Locrin to Araquene, and halden alle ure others betwixt Corinio and Locrin, and holden hierdes love, mit sothfasten huige, and senden Astrilde out of dissen londe, and Locrin this belovede, for it was his leadene red, henom Gwendoline, and hevde here to weave, and he hit side, soth thachit nere, that he wolde Astrilde senden out of londe. And this is the lords in the council speaking, but we will advise and we will counsel that we take Gwendolen as a queen for Locrin and hold all our oaths between, or in here it means to both Corineus and to Locrin, and hold, or probably something here like retain or maintain, the love of Herod here probably refers to the army rather than to the court or the household, because they are ruling all the people, and they would risk losing the love of the people or the army if they started, if the two leaders, if Locrin and Corineus came to a feud with one another. So we will retain their love. We won't lose it. We'll retain it with truthful or with loyal huige. Now, this word huige appreciably looks quite a bit different from this word Arthas, but it is in fact a variant of it. So I'm not sure whether Layamon or the scribe of the Caligula manuscript is treating it as a separate word. So if if it's a separate word for them, or if this is just a variant spelling, I suspect that either Lawman or the Caligula scribe sees it as a different word, but I can't quite verify that. I would just think that this close together in two lines, the scribe would spell it the same way, but I can't be sure of that. So basically what's happened is that, we have an H get stuck on the front of a word that begins with a vowel. That's not an uncommon phenomenon. And then there seems to be a little bit of instability sometimes between the yog and the eth, or the thorn. And that's what's happened in the case of this word. So we will retain the people's love, and with truthful oaths, truthful promises, and send Astrild out of this land. End of direct speech. And Locrin, beloved, but not in an emotional sense, more in the sense that he preferred this, or he accepted this, because it was the counsel of his people. So he had to do it, really. He didn't have that much choice in the matter. He would have preferred it to be otherwise, as his actions will illustrate. He took Gwendolen and had her as wife, and he said though it were not true, that he would send Astrild out of the land. So he would banish her. Ach ne du de he na wicht svo, forswiken he thuchte. Ach he nom his ene hiredmon, de he wel truede on. And hechte hine swithe stille sterlen ut of hirede, and hechte hine faren to don tune, the trinovant was he haten. There was on urlerden Lundene he haten, and there on hiechinge thurgoed alle thinges makien an earthhus erde and fire, the wallis of stone, the duren of whallis bone. But he did not, or he did nothing thus, so he did nothing of the sort. For he thought to deceive, but he took his one courtier, the one man of his court, who he believed in, trusted in well, and commanded him very secretly to steal out of the court, and commanded him to go to the town which was called Trinovant, which was in our tongue, among our people, but the sense here of Lead seems, I think, to refer to the language of the people. So in our tongue, in our language, called London. And there, in haste, in hieing, in hurrying, throughout all things, so come what may, so whatever happens, to make an earth house. So this word typically would refer to something like a cave, but here it's referring to a stone structure, just somewhere to hide. It would be pleasant and fair, so a pleasant and fair and beautiful earth house. Erdi, it typically means blessed in Old English, but here it has the sense of being costly or rich or expensive. The walls of stone, the doors of whale's bone. And that in a swithe fire stude from Sokna des Volkes, and dude therein a mutual coal and clothes in noe, pales and purpras and golden pennues, mutual wien, mutual wax, mutual wunsum thing, and certain fortrichtes wenden all benichte, and mit stilite gin brucht Astrild therin. Thus dude des Layamon, swa Locrin hine hevde I haten, for ever held god mon, ach his laverdes heste to don. And that in in the very beautiful place, away from the seeking or the sight. Socken is an interesting word. It has a range of different meanings. It can be a legal term, which refers to the right of a lord to hold his own court. However, I don't think Lawman's invoking that sense here. Here he really means the seeking, the visiting, which is another meaning of the word is habitual visitation. I think is how the MED actually glosses it. or defines it. But here, Lawman is saying that it's away from the view or the purview of the people, so nobody will know about this. And to put therein much coal and plenty of clothes and fine cloths and purple cloths, and this word might look a bit exotic, but it is in fact just the word pennies and golden pennies, and much wine and much wax, and many joyous or winsome things, many pleasing things. And straight away afterwards, he went all by night in complete darkness, and with a secretive or stealthy stratagem or trick brought Astrild therein. Thus did this rich man, as Locrin had commanded him, for every good man ought to do his lord's command, which in this case seems to include even situations where your lord is doing something pretty dodgy. Seven year was Astrild I dissen erse huse, that never neferde her withouten dore, ne Layamon her der nuste, but in the king Locrin and his iferen mid him. Then he to Trinavant winde, then aside he to Wendeline, that he woulde bern seven nicht there, and his god hure, in a dichelnesse, and Ellis he ne durste, that I mon wuste, what he there suchte. Gwendoline him ilevede, Luther weren his craftes. Thus verde Locrin the wielde, that Astrild was mid childe, and Gwendoline alswa mid childe hier weren baatois. 7 years was Astrild in this hiding place, this earthen house, so that she never went out of the door, and nor did any man know that she was there, except for the king, Locrin, and his iferen with him. It's not entirely clear whether this should be taken as the singular and his companion referring to the guy who set up the whole thing, or whether this is a plural which would refer to Locrin's most trusted companions. The N on the ending would typically indicate that this is a plural. However, this could be an instance of nunation, which I think I have mentioned in these videos at some point before, but basically it's a phonetic phenomenon that occurs in Lawman where words that don't typically end, or word forms that don't typically end in an N, get an N stuck on the end of the word anyway. And that may be happening here, in which case this would be singular, but it just gets an N put on the end, which usually indicates it's the plural, but here, in fact, does not. So you could take that either way, whether this is referring to just that one companion who Locrin had built this place for him, or it could be a trusted bunch of people. Then he, this is referring to, he here is referring to Locrin. This is probably actually when. So when Locrin, went to Trinavant, then he said to Gwendolen that he would be there a 7 night or a week, and would honour or worship his god in secrecy, and otherwise he did not dare that any man knew what he sought there, so his true purpose for visiting. Gwendolen believed him. Wicked were his crafts, or his skills, his skill at being deceptive and making Gwendolen believe him. Although craft, I suppose, craft can refer to reason, and so it might, in this case, refer to his plans rather than his skill in deception. Again, you could probably take it either way or collapse both meanings into it. Now, this is interesting because this line back here, 1190, that, every good man ought to do his lord's command would seem like a moral aside on Lawman's part, so he's voicing his opinion about what should be done. But now he's also telling us that Locrin was in fact really evil, so is he saying that you should obey your lord even when your lord is up to no good? Well, that's something we might need to continue reading the text to determine and make sense of. Locrin the Wild in this case might mean something like virile, as we'll see from what happens. Locrin the virile, or maybe even the passionate, fared thus that Astrild was with child, and Gwendolen also. They were both, two of them, with child. And that is where we shall leave off today. Thank you as ever for watching, and if you have any questions or comments or thoughts, suggestions or corrections, please don't hesitate to get in touch. You can do that as ever either by way of the comment section below the video here on YouTube, or you can go to the Facebook page that I've made for this show and you'll find the link to that page in the video description below. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.